Welcome back to another issue. I'm Beastie Boy.
I'm Table.
I'm Red.
And it is I, Shino Brando.
And in this issue, we let our spirits evolve by exploring Digimon Frontier.
So this week, it's my turn for anime. And we've decided, well, I've decided, Digimon Frontier is where I want to take y'all on an adventure through. This series aired in Canada from September 9th, 2002 to July 14th, 2003. It did not make its way to the UK until 2018 due to fan outcry for DVDs. It's been a long time away from them. But more to the plot. So this follows, just like every other Digimon series, a team of what will become 6 characters in their adventures through the digital world. Firstly, let's do some character intro, shall we? The leader of our team and the goggles wearing of this season is the fire spirit carrying Takuya. Each of these main characters has a human spirit and a beast spirit. I'm not going to tell you them, mostly because it's a lot of names and they become 10. It's so many. We're going to talk about the humans and then we're going to talk about some later forms later. So Takuya is your brash, your pro-tag, goggles wearing, like very, very headstrong kind of guy. You know, doesn't think too hard before rushing into battle, and definitely thinks that all problems get solved with the fist. Next we have Koji. And usually in standards in anime would bring that the emo sort of foil to our protagonist would usually be his counter spirit, right? So Takuya being fire, logic might dictate that Koji is water. This is not a story of elements per se. Koji's spirit is light. Next, we have the token girl of the series, in the way of Zoe.
When I was a young boy.
She is kind of not just sort of a princess. She tries to think before heading into battle, but usually gets stopped by the boys I've mentioned before. Zoe's spirit is wind. Next, we have Tommy, who is actual baby. Throughout the series...
80% hat.
Correct. It actually gives him a very cool silhouette when he does his digivolution into his characters. His spirit is ice. We have JP next. JP is your standard, stereotypical fat kid character. He likes to eat. He likes to think a little bit too hard. And throughout the series, well, within the first 5 episodes, you find out that JP has a massive crush on Zoe. And that's totally fine. Good for him.
I mean, you like hella notice it in the first episode too. Like everything's happening, and he's like getting jealous because like Zoe's paying attention to the other characters.
Yeah.
It's just like he's like, damn it, that should be me, man.
He blushes real hard. He very much wears his emotions on his sleeve. He is our emotional character. Whereas the characters that I've mentioned previously all carry an aspect, it starts to become a lot of a JP story. The criticism that most people find is that all the characters are very one note, with the exception of JP. So he tends to be a fan favorite. Tommy is where some more divisiveness comes out, because unfortunately, throughout the writing of this show, in English anyway, that's what I grew up on, and so had insisted that my co-host and we all watch the dub. Tommy keeps learning the same lesson over and over again on how to be stronger and how to be a better person, on how to stand up for himself. And it seems within 2 episodes he forgets that.
Yes, the learn how to be strong every day. And then he learns to be strong. And then he's like, okay, I have forgotten again. All thoughts live in my hat, not in my head.
And lastly, remember earlier that I said 6?
Yes.
Our 6th member is a massive spoiler that I will leave the audience to find out. But his spirit is darkness. Now, you can see 2 of our characters are light and dark. So that's what the plot tends to revolve around, the struggle between light and darkness.
He's not our friend then.
He does not start out as our friend. Who he is and how his relationship with the team plays out, I will leave for our viewers and our listeners to explore naturally throughout the series. For the first 20 or so episodes of this 50-episode series, which, all things considered, relatively short.
I mean, episodes are only like 20 minutes, so yeah, that's not long at all.
The main goal of this series is to acquire both human spirits and beast spirits of the 10 legendary warriors. But who are the 10 legendary warriors?
Talk to me.
Long ago, the beast and the human Digimon faced off in a giant war. This ended with the spontaneous creation of Lucemon. Well, based off his name, you'll see where we're going in a second. His power eventually drove him mad, and the 10 legendary warriors had to put aside their differences and seal him away in the dark area. Now,
Did they give him a flashlight in this dark area, or
no.
Aw,
They sealed him
that's just
in a big dark bubble, and his goal is to destroy the digital world and recreate it in his own image.
Look, if I got stuck in an evil snow globe, I would also be mad.
110%. That's our goal at the end, to defeat a Lucemon. What did we think of episode 1?
So, as far as intros go, it gets you right in there. I remember it from when it first aired, because my brother was big on it at the time. So I remember the show kind of like as it played, I was just like, oh yeah, this kid, oh yeah, that. Like the memory started flooding back. You know, like it moves quickly. You ever notice like most animes will have like you start off your show, but like nothing really kicks off until like maybe like episode 4 or 5, and that's when things start rolling. And I bless Digimon for that. Every time it's episode 1, you're thrown into the shit right away, and I give it that. So it's always quick paced and always fast moving, and I love Digimon for that. Good episode for an intro.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it really went, all right, do you know what the stakes are? No. Are you entirely sure what's going on? No.
No.
But things are happening, you're meeting characters, and we get a cool fight at the end. That hits all the important boxes. And I was a little bit... So I'm familiar with Trailmon, the train Digimon, but I wasn't emotionally prepared to run into him episode 1. I will admit this.
Oh man,
The fucking train is alive, guys.
I'm alive just as much as you humans are. Like, I mean, for me, this was one of my favorite series that I liked out of the Digimon series. But like seeing Takuya and like the gang like slowly, like as you see in the first episode, come together, it's just like, oh man, so this is what's happened. But I didn't remember that they didn't meet Koji right away. Like as like part of the the team. So it was just like, oh, this is happening, and this is how quick everything happened. I was like, it was all just like fast paced of story of like an intro as we mentioned. So yeah, it was interesting. But it's good that like the idea for this episode was to be like, hey, we got to bring something interesting for the kids, get them intrigued, and then go from there. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's talk a little bit about the actual intro to the series. Because in my personal opinion, it slaps hard.
So this is my thing with this, and hear me out, because like the first Digimon theme song was pretty basic, right?
Mm.
But do you know what show had a good theme song that kicked off every time you fucking heard it?
Oh.
Pokemon.
100%.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Right, it's a full-on song, full-on lyric set, right?
Mm.
And here it is, Digimon did the same goddamn thing. I can't say it's just as catchy, but it is a good song.
I think where Pokemon goes for being a song you can sing, this Digimon theme goes a little bit harder on the we are an epic song. Like, you can definitely sing along, but like this one is trying way harder.
Every single time the intro got played, all 50 episodes, read out loud, sang along every single line.
All the serotonin is being activated at once. Yes, it did actually slap though. Like that, like emphasis, Digimon, and everything going together and animation wise, it was like, yeah. Oh man.
Speaking of, the animation is better than I remembered it being. Like, it was smooth. I'm not gonna say it was, top of the line, but it was perfectly watchable. Like, this is a kids show, and it looked good.
May I comment on that? Because I always found Digimon to be well animated every time it came on. Every time. That's what kind of drew my eye to it more than like the Pokemon anime, because it just looked better, honestly, the whole way around.
The best thing about this series, in my personal opinion, is the transformation sequence from human to human spirit in the first episode.
Oh, fuck yeah.
That applying the armor to the kids and making it, well, that's the divisiveness of the series, I find, when researching it online, is that a lot of people didn't like that the humans were now the Digimon.
I am on that train.
I understand. I accept that argument.
It's weird.
It is a little weird. Coming off of the previous series, if you want to learn more about all the series, we did an episode about the entire Digimon franchise, essentially. This one is the cream of the crop.
I don't dislike the idea of them like combining together. It's just I prefer like not. Like, I don't hate the idea, but it's just like I wouldn't really gravitate towards that one as my favorite overall. I'd be like, I mean, it's a cool concept, right? Like, I didn't like it when they started putting humans in Transformers. It's like, well, what's the fucking point of Transformers now?
It also changes the thematics of the story a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Digimon, and one of its big things is friendship, right?
Mhm.
And that friendship isn't just between the tamers, it's also between them and their Digimon. And so by making them the Digimon, suddenly we're not talking about the same things anymore.
Yeah.
I find it lets the kids become more a part of the story as opposing letting their partners and the relationship between their partner Digimon do all the fighting for them essentially, and that relationship.
That's fair, that's fair. It does give them more agency, which they have lacked in the past.
It's true. Counterpointedly to like Davis of the O2 series, right? To Takuya of this series. Vmon in that series does a lot of the heavy lifting.
Vemon's the shit.
Dope. Favorite Digimon of all time. 100%.
All time. Yeah, I agreed.
Right? That blue bastard. But he does all the work.
Yeah, he does. He
And
does.
Davis, you know, as much as his friendship with Vmon matters, Vmon's like, that dude's back must be way down because he's carrying the whole plot.
Yo, this dude had a new transformation every other week. I was like, bro, do you ever stop?
Whereas in this, once we get a human and a beast spirit, now it's managing both and determining when is the right time to use either or. Because we come to later find out that the beast spirits are beasts for a reason. They are not tameable initially. They require a different mental skill set to command and work with.
So it becomes more about personal growth rather than relational growth, which is totally a story worth telling. It's just different.
So we've talked about some heroes. Let's talk about some villains, shall we? Initially, for about the first 15 or so episodes, our main antagonist is Grumblemon.
What I do no business of you.
This dude talks like Smeagol / Gollum got slapped around a little too hard. Okay? He very much talks in, me Grumblemon, me hit you with big hammer. You no like me when me angry.
Who gave this guy a hammer?
Don't know.
The digital world.
Fucker just spawned with it. Put that down.
Right? And all the antagonists we're going to go through in the second here have a beast evolution. Again, we're not going to weigh down with names. These are the main transformations that we fight and that they get referred to as. When Grumblemon is eventually defeated, we move on to
Stop sneaking around behind our backs.
Ranamon. And the English voice of Ranamon and our next two interact so often. This is my one big gripe with this series. The English dub decided that it was a great idea to give them like just out their voices. So while Grumblemon's fine for the first handful of episodes and he's like, oh damn, this guy's back. Like, what do you mean you're not done with him yet? Ranamon's voice is like the Walmart Dolly Parton.
Oh no.
What?
Oh no.
It is like country western as it gets, but not too, like, she's like, oh yeah, sugar. Like Wisconsin Walmart Dolly Parton.
Oh no.
Wow.
Wisconsin. That's a particular accent you went for.
Wow.
She interacts heavily with our next two. Arbormon,
Yo, you want us to rough them up for you?
which is a mechanical-ish wooden creature who talks in not a robot voice, but very similar. He's a mobster. He's a New York 1920s mobster?
Oh no.
But he's a tree.
Yeah, we're talking
A
like
New
this
York
scene.
tree.
We're talking like this scene. Yeah.
We're gonna go swimming with the fishes. And lastly, we have Mercurymon.
Thou should study an opponent first.
Mercurymon talks like Shakespeare. Does thou weareth thy mother's drapes?
Does not know that they are digital monsters. Like,
And Renamon, Arbormon, and Mercurymon all interact consistently and take up a majority of time in episodes to interact with each other. So you've got to imagine all these voices going back and forth.
oh man.
I'd actually prefer not to imagine that if it's all the same people.
Just no.
I don't know how to get around this one problem with the series.
You could always mute it and just read the captions, subtitle.
So all of the villains that I've said, real quick, Grumblemon is the spirit of earth, Ranamon is the spirit of water, Arbormon, big guess, spirit of wood, and Mercurymon is the spirit of steel. With that in mind, eventually, the kids learn that through the power of faith in their hearts and trust in each other, Takuya and Koji can each split up the spirits and become Emperor Greymon and Magna Garurumon.
What's Greymon doing here?
You gotta pull back the older audience somehow. and Gray and Garuru stem back to the original series.
They're like the Ryu and Ken of Street Fighter, man. They're like their go-tos.
Like, because money,
dude.
Toys.
There you go. There it is. We're back to that.
Yeah, you see see the mutual lesson that's been learned on this channel. How else do you get anime and TV shows across? You sell them all toys, man.
Yeah.
With this transformation, Takuya and Koji and our 6th protagonist, this is now their story. The rest of our protagonists barely matter anymore. Once they can achieve these forms, their story's over. They are the main protagonist form that we come to fight against our next tier of villains. They are Crusadermon and Dynasmon. They talk like traditional evil bad guy and evil bad girl. There's nothing.
So they're imperialist Digimon. Got it.
100%. 100%.
To unite our people within our Digi-Nation. No, I'm joking.
You know?
Conquer foreign Digilands.
I didn't see that until now that it's kind of red and blue, like Jesse and James, but I'm glad you did.
Step on their Digibones.
Yeah.
The directive behind Dynasmon and Crusadermon is to absorb what is called the Digifractal Code. And that is what makes up everything in the digital world.
So they want to eat the world.
Correct. And then feed this to Lucemon, so that way Lucemon can reshape it with all of that data together.
Ready, Lucemon. Let me digi-vomit into your mouth.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, like a mama.
Jesus. Here you go. Here's all the Digi information I found.
Thank you. I'm now Digi-nourished.
So, with the power of Emperor Greymon and Magna Garurumon, Dynasmon and Crusadermon eventually fall. However, before the Digi-Destined, the big name for all of our protagonists, before they can put things back together, Lucemon's ball cracks open, and Lucemon absorbs what's left of our former antagonists and becomes Lucemon Shadow Lord mode.
Shadow Lord mode?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to talk like, whoa, first and foremost, titling yourself Shadow Lord is one thing, but then having a mode for it is fucked up.
In standard
Does
Digivolution...
he have a Shadow Baby mode?
No, but there's one more mode and you're gonna love it. So,
God.
Upon absorbing these two, right, we go into Shadow Lord mode. And that is the form on screen that looks like more feminine, bigger wings and lots of them, and has light and darkness displayed openly with its wings. Half bat, half angel.
Much like the Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Much like the Yu-Gi-Oh card. The kids decide that, well, if 2 was good, if putting all of our hope and faith and, you know, our friendship along the way was good, if we believe just a little bit harder, we can achieve more. And more happens to take the form of Susanoo-Anomon.
Susan?
Susanoo-Mon.
Yeah, go ahead.
Susanoo-Mon is based on the Japanese mythology of the unlikely hero who slayed the dragon Orochi.
I understand. Okay, table. See, that's totally different. Your Susan is a powerful soccer mom. That's different.
Yeah, you're who you said brings the orange slices when I play soccer. Like, so every good hero needs a big long sword, in my personal opinion. And Susanoo-Mon takes his big long sword and slices both Lucemon and the dark orb he was in half. Villain defeated, end of story.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, go ahead and button mash a thumbs up.
Just fucking kidding. The dark half of Lucemon absorbs all of the ball and becomes the demon dragon Lucemon.
Is there a mode for this or no mode?
The demon dragon mode.
Oh shit, there we go.
From here, it is the emotional payoff of the series as a whole. Our heroes will eventually win, but this ending is one of the most sad endings in all of Digimon. And words cannot begin to describe the emotional payoff. So here's what I have done. I have explained to you roughly the majority of the series. So with this information, you could go into episodes 49 and 50 and watch it for yourself. Because this ending contains the most emotion in the entire series, and this is something that needs to be seen to be believed. Switching gears, one of the other big complaints about this series is filler. And throughout all 50 episodes, there's probably about 10 that, you know what, if you skipped, you wouldn't lose anything. So, for example, there is a episode where Zoe gets her spirit in the episode before, and this is kind of Zoe learning how to use that.
Zoe 101, okay.
And they help a group of Floramon versus a team of Mushroommon.
Okay.
And, you know, acceptance and friendship and how to get along, and she teaches them all how to get along and not destroy each other's plants, essentially. This series meant a lot to me personally, and this is where my viewing of this series as a whole, as a franchise, kind of dipped. And it was because the humans turned into Digimon.
Yep.
So I get it. I get where you're coming from. But if I've convinced one person to watch this series, I've done my job.
That's fair. I mean, I can see why people didn't want to watch this series, because, yeah, you've really changed just the entire structure of the cast. And I mean, you get that weird little guy with the pants and his buddy with the book, and they do that comedy duo filler thing. Which
yes, that's Nemon and Bokomon.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes you're just like, okay, shut your mouths. But alas, you won't.
Nemon, the best thing in the whole series. The comedic aspect from him on how stretchy his pants are, and Bokomon being our exposition dumper when we need it, and sometimes when we don't. Nice to have with these very headstrong kids.
Someone needs to explain things.
In-universe things, for sure.
Right? Someone has to be Basil Exposition.
100%.
And then someone needs to be chill, in contrast to these children who actually seem to have zero chill between them.
They don't. None of them have any chill. Except for Koji. Koji's got too much chill, in fact.
He's a Sasuke of chill.
Yeah, kid's too cool for his own good, man.
That genuinely brings us to the end of my talking through this series. Is there anything else anybody would like to add?
Digimon is badass in design. Still one of my favorite.
My issue with this show is that these Digimon are just, to me anyways, are just not highly memorable. Is my problem. You know, I don't have total recall for these guys. Like, you can say a name from like the first guys, right? The first cast anyways, because like the problem for me with Digimon is like their names are just sometimes way too fucking elaborate or ridiculous. I'm just like, I'm not remembering that. Too bad. The more simplified it is, the better, right? Like Agumons, Kabuterimons, Garumons, I can remember that shit. But when you start going to like the extremely long names and whatnot, I'm just like, nope, that's not happening for me. So that Digimon's cool, but I can't remember that name, so it just doesn't stick. These guys too, it's just like same thing. Names are like a bit here and there, like they don't stick to me, and like designs are they're cool, right? The dude looks cool as fuck, man, but just I will never remember his name or face or anything outside of that series. If I ever were to watch it once and not go back, I'll be like, yeah, I remember watching it, but do you remember anything like anybody? And like that kid with the cool red armor and the yellow hair, man. That's what I'm getting out of that. For me, I wish it was a bit more memorable. And if I watch it now, I'll try to remember. But at this advanced age of my life, remembering names is not even easy. So I can't do that. But I mean, from watching it, I can see how it's entertaining, and it looks good too. So I'll give it that much. And if I'm gonna watch something to like just for the visual aspect of it, I'll give it a go.
I mean, I think the issue with the name thing, right, is that because the Digimon don't actually have really independent personalities of the kids, you just think of them as the kids still.
I guess, man. But like when you throw in Digimon, I mean Pokemon, like I can remember like most of those names because they're one of a kind names that just come off like a name, like especially the Gen 1 guys. You have your Pikachus, your Squirtles, your Hitmochans, Hitmolees, you know what I mean? Like you can remember half of those, you can remember majority of those names, not even half. You can remember like, most of them, but like when we start getting to Digimon names, it's like because they all end with Mon, they all almost like run off, and it's just like I don't remember that name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the difference between just the regular Gabuterimon, and then you get like Thunder Gabuterimon, and then Hercules Gabuterimon, and then it agreed. As a person who's memorized a lot of them, yeah, totally, it's a lot. It's a lot to sort out. It's very much not a structured like a Pokedex.
Compound names, the bastards.
It's way too many, man. It's like, fuck, dude. Can you just? Is there no way we can simplify that, man? Do we have to change that name to that name, or like, can we just not keep calling the same motherfucking name, man? Like,
nope.
Oh, you could, but then you wouldn't get such classics as Imperial Jamon, Fighter Mode, Destiny Sword.
See, no, man.
Gotta make it complex.
The thing I will say with this, in sort of extended media, it got a movie, and that's definitely worth watching about 35 episodes in, because this very much gives some more clarity to what the actual fight with the 10 legendary warriors actually was. You get enough fit from the series, but if you wanted a smidge more on what that battle actually looked like from the native Digimon of the digital world, this is where you would go to find that. There's also an audiobook. It's strictly in Japanese, so if you hear that language and understand that language, it's definitely worth going to. It's the original voice cast from the sub, doing another adventure that takes place about 3 or so years later. And it's about 35 minutes, so a little bit longer than a standardized episode.
Again, that episode count one more time.
50.
Okay, the standard. Okay.
So 50, a movie, and an audiobook. Like, easy. With all that, we are done with this Digi series. Beastie?
Will you digi please?
I digi shall. But if you'd like to hear more of a digital world, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can tune in every Wednesday, and you can catch us streaming live on Thursdays at twitch.tv/NerdCrusade. If you'd like to follow us digitally, you can follow our Twitter or Instagram for updates and join our Crusader chat on Discord by checking our link tree in the description. And you can download any previous episodes or listen on your mobile devices through anchor.fm or search Nerd Crusade on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, fellow Crusaders.
That's to be Digi continued.
Hey there, Crusaders. Welcome to a very special message here at the end, where we asked the legendary person behind the voice of JP is what he thought about the series and what he learned from that series. Please enjoy that message now.
Hey, Red. It is Steve Blum here. Austin asked me a question for you. And that question was, what was the most memorable thing when working on Digimon Frontier? First of all, I had to try to remember which one was Digimon Frontier, because I worked on a lot of them. It was a long time ago, but I just looked it up and realized that that was the season with JP, and played several characters on that show. But I think the biggest and greatest memory for me was when I was voicing JP, it reminded me of a time in my life when I was very, very insecure. I was bullied a lot. I didn't really believe that anybody could like me. I didn't see myself as likable. I was overweight, and I felt underskilled. I wasn't really that good at anything. I was just sort of average. And playing a character like JP was a different kind of character for me. I was used to playing characters that were either heroic or villainous or creature-like or big and broad, and JP felt very real to me. It was a part of my childhood that hurt a lot, frankly, and took me a long time to work through all of that stuff as an adult. So JP was one of those characters that I connected with very, very deeply, and actually did some emotional work by voicing that character. Isn't that weird? Working on a cartoon show that you can actually heal some stuff from childhood. So for me, it holds a very, very warm place in my heart, and I love the people that I work with on the Digimon crew. They were amazing people anyway. I'm actually engaged to the lady who was directing me on that show, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn. So double extra phenomenal memory that I get to relive every day. It just brings up so much happiness, and it's also, Digimon for me represents a very pure part of my life and my career. They talked about real family issues on that show, and the characters were just so sweet and innocent and going through real life things. So thank you for bringing back those happy memories for me. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and thank you, Austin, for thinking of me. Red, have a great, great day.
Didgeridoo.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, go ahead and button mash a thumbs up. If you want to swing by when we have a new video, web up the sub button. Oh, and while you're at it, hit the bell to be notified by...